So now that we know what the data types are in R, we have to start learning about what we can do with those data, right? So let's say the easiest thing that we can do, right, would be, let's say 5, that is a numeric type of data. We can add it to another numeric type of data, that is 7. We can use R as a calculator, right? So we are using R as a calculator to make the calculations easier. See, 5 plus 7 is an easier calculation. We all know it is 12. But what if I were to tell you 5 raised to 7 or 5 divided by 7? See, we have a lot of such operations that go into the software or into a programming language to get us an output. All these things, every operation that we do, addition is an operation, exponential is an operation, division is an operation, together make what we call operators in R. Right. Now, at any given point, operators can be of 3 types. The first kind, or the easiest to remember, is mathematical operators. These operators would generally be used on numbers, right? Used on numeric data type. What are these? So, to keep it simple, right, we have plus, we have minus, we have division, we have multiplication, right? This is add, subtract, divide, multiply. Then we have power. So we can just check all of these out. Let's say we were to store. I open up a new script. A as 3, B as 10. Okay, because I've just written them in the script, they are not yet codes that have been executed. So right now we cannot see anything like A and B in my global environment. Once I select these two commands and press Control Enter, that's when they will start getting run in the console. So first, now A is equals to 3 is going to be run, and then B equals to 10. Yeah. So both these are run. Now we have A and B 10. So we have A plus B, that is add, A minus B, that is subtract, A divided by B, A multiplied by B, that is going to be divide and multiply. Let's see what the answer to each one of them is. A plus B is 13, A raised to B would be quite good, B raised to A is 1000. So essentially we are doing just normal mathematics that we have. Calculator may also we store those two values in A and B, and we can do all these stuff, right? We don't need to check anything else. Now in addition to these, there are a few other operators in R. One of them is percentage. This is called as the remainder operator. Essentially what it did, that it does, it gives the remainder when we divide A by B. Okay. We can also check the remainder for this. It would be 1, right? 10 divided by 3. 3 is the quotient and 1 is the remainder. Yes? So that's the remainder operator. So such operators that work on numeric data are used for mathematical calculations. We'll call them mathematical operators. They work on 2 or more number of data types, and we'll take them into next level, right? The second kind is the logical operators. Now, these have to do with the logic or true or false. Again, we'll be looking at this from the angle of whether something is true or not. So the idea is to check whether an element or check something, value of something is equal to something. So this can be used on both character as well as numeric data. Right. So for example, to check if let's say a is greater than if a is greater than 0, I can just say a greater than 0. Check if a is greater than 0. It says true, that means a is actually greater than 0. I can check b is less than 0. Check if b is less than 0. Right. Similarly, that is so easier ones, right? So we along with that we also have less than, greater than, less than equal to, greater than equal to. We also have equal to equal to. This is for is equal to. Okay, so essentially when I say, let's say a equal to 5, this is going to be check if a is 5. Obviously it is not, it is 3. So hence the answer is false. Now similarly, we can also do something like this for a character variable, that I can say, let's say check if the name is Neil. It's not name. We can see in the global environment is Bhavya, right? So this checks if name is Neil. If I were to do double equal to Bhavya, exactly the way it is stored, it will give me true. So the idea is that we will be using such operators, right? To sometimes remove some elements out of other data structures that we require, right? We have to remember these operators. Generally, these are very basic elements of knowing R. Uh, if you don't try to practice this 2-3 times, you will start to remember it. I don't think any operator as such is a very difficult operator to remember, right? Uh, Along with this, there are the slightly more complicated operators as well. Not equal to. Now, this is something that students usually forget, right? Not equal to. So let's say if I were to change this and say name not equal to name. So this checks if name is not name, which is true, right? That name is not nil, hence the answer is true. We also have the operators for and or. When we want to combine two logical, so something like this, a greater than 0 or b less than 0. Checks if a is greater than 0 or b is less than 0. When I run this, I get an answer true. The way this answer has been formulated, we all remember the rules of logic that we learned in 11th standard, right? So we have the rules, right? So let's say statement 1. So let's say I'm putting it as S1, S2. This is true, this is true, this is true, this is false. This is false, this is false, this is true, this is false. If these are the scenarios, if I'm looking at AND operator, right? So S1 and S2, you know that true and true is true, other than that all are false, correct? These were the rules that we have learned. And when we look at the OR operator, or when we take OR condition, we have false and false is false, other than that everything is true. So same idea goes here itself. Here they check, let's say if we were to individually check, A greater than 0 is true, B less than 0 is false. So true, false. Right? So true, false. Second, when we use the OR operator, the answer should have been true. That's what we got. Now let's look at the AND operator. I'm just copying this. And changing the operator to AND. This checks if A is greater than 0 and B is less than 0. False. Obviously, again, if we look at the table that we have just made, true, false, in the under the AND condition, it is false always. So both these operators work in a similar manner as we have learned through logic itself. So we don't need to worry about them. Along with that, for a programming language, with both mathematical and logical operators, we have a third category of operators, assignment operator. Right? Basically, these are inbuilt to a programming language. These are used to assign values. We have been using them since the beginning of this course, right? We have been saying x equals to this, a equals to this. That is assigning. So when we did this, when we say a equals to 3, it basically says assign 3 to a, right? Similarly, when you say, let's say b equals to, in quotations 10, it says assign quotation 10 to b, right, as a character. It will get assigned as a character because we have put in the quotation marks. Similarly, in addition to these two, right, in addition to these two, we will be mostly using the equal to sign to assign. You also have the greater than sign followed by a hyphen. Now, why is this used? Because this looks like an arrow, right? And you also have another kind of arrow that looks like this. That would be hyphen followed by a greater than sign. Okay, so let's say we can say R, this is like saying assign 45 to R. As soon as we run this, R, the programming language, will assign the value 45 to R, the variable. Similarly, we can also say 60 hyphen assign to RT. This is like saying assign, or RT is being assigned 60. So when you use that greater than, when you use the arrow, the direction of the arrow determines the where the arrow is pointing is where the variable would be named, right? So 60 is pointing towards RT, Therefore, RT gets stored as 60. 45 is pointing towards R. The arrow is towards R. Therefore, 45 gets assigned to R. Am I clear? Now we can use a mathematical operator in this also. We can check if R is less than RT. So it is true. R is less than RT. We can check if RT is less than some value, if B is equal to some value, etc. etc. So the idea is that we'll be using all these operators in a small manner. So before we use that, before we go on to use them in a big code, we would want to understand what they do, so that if there is an error somewhere, we can figure out where the error is lying, right? So these are the operators in R, right? So that's it for this lecture. Keep practicing, right? Try to use all the operators once to realize what what the answer they give, right? Once you do that, you will be clear with this topic. Thanks for watching.